All right, so I'm making a quick video for my students just to talk about the courses I'm offering in the spring semester of 2021. I've had a lot of questions already, so I thought, you know what, I need to make a quick video, post it on D2L, maybe share it with some other folks who might find it helpful, just to get the information out there. I wanted to make it a little bit more polished, a little more refined, but at the end of the day, just having it out there is better than not having it out there. So this is not going to be the most dynamic video you've ever watched, but hopefully it is helpful. So first off, I want to talk about what you're seeing here on the screen is from, if you log into my MCC and you do an advanced search for the spring schedule and you just look at all the courses I teach, this is what's going to pop up. So I'm going to start off at the top here, COM 125, Interpersonal Communication. It's a popular gen ed class for a lot of different students. We offer it Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursdays from 12:30 to 1:25. This is also the same time that I taught public speaking during the fall semester. And a lot of concurrent enrollment in high school students find this to be a helpful time slot. I would say there's some major differences between public speaking and interpersonal communication. First off, interpersonal communication is really focused on how do we communicate in small groups? How do we communicate with our family members, our friends, our neighbors, fellow students at school, our coworkers? Think of all the different small groups you're a part of, and think about how you communicate similarly or differently when you look at those different groups. That's the main idea here with interpersonal communication. And then we pull in theories and research to help make sense of all of it. So another big difference is that instead of, like in public speaking, we do a lot of speeches. We do have some speeches in interpersonal communication, primarily focused on specific sections of the textbook where you summarize some of the key ideas and then share that with your fellow students so that we can have more repetition about that content. But the biggest assignment in that class is what we call a relational analysis paper. And that's where you pick a specific relationship in your life that is important to you. And then you analyze it using the theories and the research we talk about in class to identify what's going well with the communication in that relationship. And then where are there areas for growth in that relationship in terms of communication. You do a first draft and then also a final draft that you get feedback on that first draft and incorporate in the final draft. You get points for both of those drafts, and it's the major assignment in the course. We also kind of workshop through some different theories and ideas in interpersonal communication and link them to our personal experience. So if we're talking about, say, conflict in communication, somebody will be responsible for saying, here's an example of how I communicate about conflict in a specific relationship. And then we all, analyze it and talk about that within our coursework. Obviously, scenarios that people are comfortable talking about, nobody's expected to share about relationship communication that they don't want to share. They're free to withhold things that they think are too personal. That's a quick overview for COM 125. The remainder of the classes, rather than meeting at specific times through Global Classroom or WebEx, are going to be online courses. So as we continue to make our way through this COVID-19 pandemic, and we've seen schools go remote and come back, and the online classes tend to be pretty popular because they have that flexibility. They've been taught online before. We have the content ready to be delivered online. I'm going to start with one class that I think there's a lot of misunderstanding about, and that's CWB 209, also known as Web Content Management Systems. I think the complicated name and the fact that it's a 200 level class intimidate people. Don't be intimidated by this class. If I could rename this class, I'd call it, what's the easiest way to make a website? That's really the main idea here, is we're using web-based platforms to design a website. And we look at, hey, what can you do for free? And then through that experience, we learn okay, what's the functionality that you can pay for? And you are in no way required to use that functionality, but it does exist, and you learn about it. But we're really looking at what's the easiest way to make a website? We look at different platforms, and we're primarily focused on the free ways to do it. But we also identify and explore advanced functionality and advanced options that exist. That's in the second half of the semester. I think it's a really fun class. I hope that people aren't intimidated by it, because I think out of all the courses I'm teaching in the spring, when you look at the content, it's actually the least intimidating course. It's what's the easiest way to make a website is really the theme there. Now, if you do want to look at the more complicated components of website design, if you want to get into the coding, If you want to get into what you can do with certain software platforms, specifically with Adobe Dreamweaver, then we have a class for that too that's also offered online in the second half of the semester, and that's down here at the very bottom, Web Design 1 or MGD 141. That pretty much covers everything you need to know about that course. If you wanted to pair a course with CWB 209, which is at the end of the semester, and pick a course that's offered at the beginning of the semester, a great option is Marketing 155 here in the middle. It's Social Media for Business. Typically a very popular course with a number of different types of students. So our high school or concurrent enrollment students tend to really appreciate it because they're just interested in social media and how that can be used in business. We also give them the opportunity to apply social media context and ideas to what's really relevant in their lives. So if they wanted to try and think of ideas of how they could promote a student organization, through social media, we allow them to look at not just businesses, but also organizations as well. So that could vary from anything from, like I said, a student organization to a nonprofit organization. We look at additional context, not just private businesses. Now, having said that, we do have students who enroll in that class who are owners of small businesses, and they specifically want to learn how to develop content that's related to their small business. Sometimes we get folks who are complete newbies or outsiders to social media, and sometimes we get folks who've done really impressive things with social media for their business. They teach us about that, and then we identify other options for them in terms of how to refine what they already have or maybe look at different platforms. That's a great class. It's a lot of fun. Once again, I would say an excellent, if you're looking for 2 courses that are online in the spring semester, I think Marketing 155 in the first half of the semester and then CWB 209 in the second half semester, I think that'd be a fun way to go. Now, another pairing option for you would be Adobe Photoshop 1, where you work through a series of tutorials where you develop specific skills in that software, Adobe Photoshop. And then once you put together a series of skills, then we give you a little bit more freedom and we give you kind of a project that has basic parameters, but you have the freedom and the creativity to kind of do what you want with it using the skills that you just developed. And we do that kind of sequencing of assignments throughout the entire course for the first half semester. And a lot of it, you don't have to take Adobe Illustrator during the second half semester, but I would definitely encourage it because a lot of what we do in Photoshop connects specifically to what we do in Illustrator. They have a similar setup, working through tutorials, developing specific skills, and then using those skills on projects where you have a lot of opportunity for creativity and freedom. That's the quick overview of those 6 courses. It wasn't always pretty, but we got to the end. Like I said, not the most dynamic video I've ever made, but at least the information's out there. As always, feel free to send me a message on D2L, send me an email at jim.delung@morgancc.edu. If you want to meet over the phone or over WebEx or Zoom, we can do that. Just let me know. All right, thank you.